This is a video I'm making for Avante, the young man who was working 2 jobs with a 1-year-old who's struggling and said he was sick and tired of being poor and didn't know how to get out. I didn't have time to answer you when I was walking, but I wanted to take this minute to give you a longer answer. I'll read you the tweet. That to Avante, what you're going through is tough. Being so young and already having to support a child is not easy, but you'll have the opportunity to become an amazing inspiration in a way I never could. Your success story will become your sermon. That being said, onto the advice. You're going to need to assume that luck isn't real or that it applies to everyone else but you, because the only way you're going to get out of your surroundings is by having something of value that other people want. And right now, the only thing you have is your time with low skills to trade, which is a hard game to play. You have to trade a lot of it only to get a little. So your main objective is to have the time to learn a skill while providing for your family. That means in the short term, your family may have to suffer. Scratch that. Your family will suffer. But better now when they're too young to remember it than when they're too old to forget. Again, not forever, but for now. So these are the things you're going to have to do. And this isn't dabble stuff. This is wake the fuck up, because if you don't, you're going to blink and be 30 and in the same spot, but worse. Number 1, cut all costs. And I mean all costs. You don't eat out anymore for anything. And if you're hungry, you deal with it. If it's not from a discount grocery store, you don't buy it. Clothing? Ha. What you've got is everything you need for the next 2 years. Period. No exceptions. Reuse, trade, or go to Goodwill. You go to work, you go home, and home is ideally with your family. And when I say family, your folks. And if you don't have folks who have got room or a couch or a basement that you can stay at, the worst case is with another family also trying to make it and save. So it's 6 of you, 8 of you, 10 of you in one spot, all splitting it, all of you contributing. And it's going to be as cheap as you possibly can. Number 2, increase your income. You're working 2 jobs. Your free time, I want you to spend applying to other jobs closer to what you want to do. He said he didn't like either of the things that he was doing at that time. So any at-home phone sales job has starter roles that require 0 experience to pay $40,000 a year or more. Do that and work your other job in between. If you can't, drive Uber. If you don't have a car, save up until you do. Number 3, the easiest thing to sell is someone else's stuff. So start there. Then learn how to buy stuff for cheap and then flip it. The bigger the thing, the more you make. You go from flipping cards to furniture to homes, and the limit never really stops from there on. Final note, I could hear the stress in your voice when you were talking to me about your situation. It sounded like you didn't know what to do. Sadness comes from a lack of options. It's a feeling of hopelessness. But whenever you feel that, I want you to think, this is ignorance, not sadness. It means I don't know enough, and that I can control. You asked me to come work for free, but I have no need for low-skilled labor. But I do have a need for high-skilled beasts. It's why I make the books and the courses and the content everywhere for free. So use those. Then get yourself a high-paying job, and every day apply for higher-paying ones. I recommend sales to start. Then once you get in there, for the love of God, work until your fingers bleed because you have no other option. You have no luck. Nothing is going to work out for you. You're not going to catch a break. You're going to have to make it happen. You're going to have to force it. You've got to become undeniable. And the best news is that you can do that in less than a year. So Avante, I wanted to add on top of that, you're in a tough spot, and I think some of the words I probably just said to you hopefully hit home somewhere. When I saw you, you were wearing relatively nice clothes, and I wasn't gonna like bash you on it when I saw you, but I want to take the opportunity to say, like, you know better. You know what I mean? Like, you know that, like, if you're struggling with money, that's the last thing that you should spend money on, right? And so, number 1 is, I want you to go on a different information diet. The best way to stay poor is to listen to poor people about how to get rich. You're already taking great steps by, like, watching content, doing this stuff. Just keep doing more of that. And I'm sure your girl, whoever, you know, you have your baby with, that's your world. Like, anybody who's not trying to build Avante 2.0 with you doesn't deserve your time. Because, like, right now, you have a wallet of money and you got a wallet of minutes. And, like, every single person you're choosing to pay minutes to or pay dollars to has to earn their keep. And earning their keep in this season of your life is them helping you get to where you want to go. Now, I don't know what you're making in your job. I'm just going to assume the extreme scenario of you're making minimum wage at both jobs and you're working 80 hours doing that. I get it, and I respect the hustle, which is why I'm making this video. You need to get more for your time. And right now, the extra time on top of that 80 is you sleeping and probably spending time with your kid. And what I'm going to say, people in your surroundings will say, like, that guy's extreme, or that guy, he's not balanced. And the answer is yes, I am extreme and I am unbalanced. For the season that you're in, I think you should be too. Because the thing is, it's like, if you don't take action on this, 5 years is going to go by and nothing's going to change because you're not going to get ahead. Like, you need to get your head firmly above water because you probably barely feel like you can keep your head above surface, right? That's where all that stress is coming from. And you don't know what to do. So to get the water lower, you've got to lower your time budget and your money budget. And I want to go really extreme with you. And I'm not telling you to do anything I didn't do, all right? I owned my car in cash, which I think was a $5,000 or $6,000 car. And I slept in a room with another dude in a house that had 6 other people in it. And so I had to split my kitchen. And I had to deal with the fact that 3 of them had dogs and was shit and piss everywhere all the time. It sucked. But you know what would have sucked more? Not being able to have the money to buy the courses and the seminars and the workshops that I was able to attend with the extra that I saved so I could learn my next skills. And so right now, food and shelter is the only thing you spend money on, and you're gonna drop everything else. And you're gonna drop those expenses to the greatest degree possible. And either your girl is working, and if she's working, then you can have childcare. If she's not working to take care of the kid, then you need to say, listen, sweetie, like, I gotta do this for us right now. And so like, you're putting your sacrifice in, which is you're sacrificing your career so you can be with the kid. I need to sacrifice the kid right now so I can have the career, so that together as a family we're balanced, rather than the individual. Luck has already dealt you a shit hand. Let's assume he's never gonna give you the right hand. You're never gonna get lucky, but you still need to win. And so now it's like, how do I do that? And you gotta tell your lady this. It's like, I'm gonna be spending 4 hours a day, every day, watching these videos, and this isn't me doom scrolling on YouTube. I need you to pick one skill that you wanna have and only consume stuff about that. This is my one thing I'll let you buy. It's a timer you can buy for $5, not your phone. And you set the timer, and you set it for those 4 hours a day. And every time you look away, you stop the timer. You do 4 hours of real work of studying the skill. After you've done enough of that work, and you're like, well, what's enough? 20 hours? Like, you're like, oh, I could do that soon. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm telling you. You can get out of this fast. You can switch those 4 hours of you learning the basics of that skill to spending the rest of your time being the most amazing applicant to new jobs that exist in the world. I didn't say go apply to jobs. I said be the best candidate that has ever applied. And you're like, I don't have experience. And you can address that. Like, what I don't have an experience, I will make up for and hustle. And you prove that by messaging multiple people at every company with a snippet personalized to each of them. So every employer wants to see is somebody who's going to go out of their way to go above and beyond. And so you demonstrate that you're going to go above and beyond. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to do this for 5 different places. You know what's going to happen? Nothing. Because you're not lucky. So what are you going to have to do? Got to be undeniable. Do you think if you applied to 1,000 places like that over the next 6 months, you wouldn't get a job? I think you would. There's a significant amount of money and opportunity that sits on the other side of being willing to be rejected by a stranger. If you get rejected 1,000 times, you are no worse off than you are right now. In fact, you're better. Why? Because you have 1,000 times experience. And one yes can change your entire life. And then when they give you that shot, shove it in everyone's face how hard you work. Not by what you say, but by what you do. Be silent and just kill. Look at what the top guy does and do twice as much as that guy does. Be Kobe for whatever the job is. If you don't know the whole story about Kobe, he did 3 practices a day while everyone else did 1 or 2 because he wanted to get ahead. And in the beginning, he was worse than them. And then he got as good as them. And then he became better than them. And he kept doing 3 practices a day until eventually no one could catch up. Because if they were doing 3 practices a day, they would just keep up with his rate of progress. But he got ahead. And so the guy who's number 1 at whatever that business is, you can't just match him to get ahead because he'll always be ahead. You got to match his current effort and then do your I'm going to get ahead of you effort. That's when Avante 2.0 clocks in. And once you do get that job and you work harder than everyone else, you don't work harder than everyone else for a week. You don't work harder than them for a month. You work harder than the top guy for a year, for 2 years. And you're like, well, shit, dude, I'm already like 2 or 3 years from now. Yeah, I said it was a season. But on the other side of this season is everything else that you want. And so if I said, Avante, in 36 months, are you willing to give me 36 months to get yourself out of the feeling that you have right now? You're like, I'm sick and tired of being poor. I'm sick of not being able to buy the stuff for my girl that I want. I'm sick of not being able to provide for my kid. I want him to be in a good zip code. I want him to be able to have good school. I want him to be able to have these things. There's a price tag on that. The question is just whether or not you're willing to pay it. You have something that I do not have and that many people won't have, is that you have a hard fucking beginning. You have a harder and bigger monster to slay. But the bigger the monster, the more epic the hero. And so these are the stories that you're going to someday tell. And these are going to be the sermons that you're going to be able to give to other Avantes in the future. So I didn't have time to say that, but hopefully I give you a couple more minutes that give you a little more context. I think I can speak confidently for all Hormozi Nation. We're all rooting for you.